Well, here we are again, Yin Yoga, a practice that we've been doing. Well, this is our second real week. There was a class I did when I was in Bali, but this is now, I guess, more of our part of our real online classes. So I'll give us a few moments just to jump on board, just checking that we're all in. I've scheduled it for a 6:30 start for a 7:30 finish, or thereabouts. It's a practice that a lot of people tend to be drawing towards these days, the Yin Yoga, simply because of its slowness. So what we do notice with a Yin practice is that it is long, I guess, and held poses. So I can see a few people coming on, which is awesome. I can see Kelly, Yasmina, Luba, which is awesome. I'm sure you guys have had a huge day at work. We're up to Wednesday. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day sometimes, isn't it? It's like, oh, what's the day today? Freedom Day today for me. I got to see the real world today, and wasn't that a shock? So Yin is a nice way just to I guess slow us down and to bring us back into our bodies, and it allows us to be more focused on listening to our body. And it's not a hard practice at all. It's a very gentle kind of practice. It delves really deeply into the connective tissue. So when we talk about connective tissue, what is connective tissue? It's things like ligaments and tendons. It's fascia. And it is one of the practices that you can do of any age, and certainly of any condition. So a lot of people say, like my hands get really sore with yoga because I can't do down dog for often. Yin's a perfect practice. I was listening to a webinar today, a man called Paul Grigley. He was actually the instigator, or I guess the mastermind behind Yin Yoga. And he was saying, look, you know what, Yin's great, I love it. It's, I'd call it the best thing since sliced bread. But he says in any person's body, we need Yin and Yang. Okay, so we need all that beautiful slowness, but we also need the Yang, our flows that we do, our vinyasanas, our what we would probably know as our traditional classes. So this is like something that you would do as well as a Yang practice. And if I start to talk about Yin and Yang, what does it really mean? They come from the traditional Chinese medicine. So sometimes you'll see it written as TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. So Yin practice, which we will do today, we'll be looking at the metal elements. So there's 5 elements in traditional Chinese medicine, and I've chosen metal. I'm going to run with metal for our whole month of April because that's the element associated with autumn. So to start with, that means us opening up things like the lung channel, and also opening up the intestinal area. I asked if you had one, please bring your bolster, if you had a little towel, maybe bring that, or even if you have something like a pillow or double up, use that, because we may well need to be propping with it. And if you've got your blocks, grab them too. And any kind of props will be helpful and handy. So a Yin practice, opening up the lungs. Let's look at where the lung meridian is. Lung meridian runs from your thumb, and it runs up. It runs up the body, and it's what they call the Yin meridian. Runs from your thumb. So actually runs from the outer edge of the thumb, and it comes down through the like this heel part, and runs all the way up to the shoulder, and then it cuts across to a little point right here. Okay, and that's often referred to as lung 1 or lung 2. Where that would be is it's like a little hollow right here, and that's where the lung meridian is. So thumb all the way through, and then the opposite, the Yang meridian, is your intestines. Okay, so that's going to run from your second finger, and this one runs up the front of your arm. So that came on the inside, it's at the front of your arm, and it comes down, it comes over this little muscle here, and then runs across here. It runs across the back of your shoulder blade, and then it comes up through your neck, and then it comes across the nose, okay, and down and through to here. Okay, so I tell you this because it's actually really nice to know how some of this comes about. And in saying that, why would we open up the lungs and the intestines? Lungs, because at this time of the year, we can get quite congested. Now we know, and I hate bringing the word up, the coronavirus, but we know that it is very respiratory driven. And so that's why I have chosen this practice as well. It's for us to try and keep the lungs nice and open, and so that we've got great airways, great open airways. And we talk about why the intestinal areas, because this area here is responsible for all of our digestion. And if we don't keep this healthy and well, then we again don't go into that elimination process. So lungs, again, important for elimination, respiratory, and so too are the intestines. Let's start with a bit of battening, and I know we've done this before, but battening is a technique of trying to stimulate. So I'm going to get us to stimulate the lung and the intestinal, and you might remember it from last time. We're going to go up the body, so we're going to start down here at the heel, and we just do this little batten, like a little tap, 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 okay, and it runs all the way up, and you'll remember, right across the lung too, and then we go down the arm, we go down this, and you might remember from last week, over this little joint here, we call that the crooked pond, and remember it was down to this second finger, all the way down, and then come over the top, thumb. This is so important, because what this also does is it also starts to improve the immune system. We used to do this every day, if not several times a day when we were in Bali, and I can tell you not one single one of us was ever sick or unwell, or did we ever get any kind of respiratory or ailments or any conditions in those 3 weeks. Okay, it's done on the other side, so when you're ready, thumb up. Let's go down this side here. So this is lung, and this is lung. Comes across to 2, 1 and 2. Okay, and then we go down the arm, over that little crooked pond. And sometimes when you go there, that really starts to hurt. Yep, and down to this finger, then over and up. Okay, we'll do one more on each. And then I'm going to give us one more little acupressure point. And you guys, I'm sure you'll know it, because I know it, and I should say I know, because you should know, but I've known it for many, many years. I remember, I think even as a kid we used to do it. Get across the chest, going down. And this is again to wake up any stagnant energy, and that's why we're doing this, is to wake up some stagnant energy. Okay, so done there. There's this little point here between the thumb and that second finger. It's in this little fleshy V point here. And you can very gently put some pressure onto it. And this is, and you won't need a lot of pressure. Okay, it's a pain pressure point, and there is a contraindicator to it, and that's pregnancy, because it can actually, the idea is it helps us to release things, and where it is an acupressure point for pregnancy is to induce labor. Okay, they will use it for that. But for things like headaches, for pain, and to also help, it's used to help to stimulate digestion as well. So, and it's on both hands, because obviously meridians run down both hands, but you can gently press through here to get that stimulated, that area stimulated. And if you ever go to an acupuncturist, or you get acupressure, this is a point that they often will use to help get rid of stagnant energy. Alrighty, you might even feel it. Sometimes it can be really sore. Alright. So talking about lungs, let's think about opening up those lungs, this lung channel across here. This one I call open and close the book. You'll need to lie down on your mat, and I don't think you'll need any props for this. Though, if you find it uncomfortable on, say, the head and the neck, you could put a little pillow behind. Okay, up to you. And then we're on our side, so it's like I'm in bed, I'm tucked up, I'm snuggled up on my side, and I'm going to put my underside arm out, and I've got my knees and my hips stacked on top of each other. Okay. And then I'm going to place the other arm directly here on top. And what I do here is I begin to open up from here. So you'll do this on the inhale, open, open, open. Now I'm not going to let my hips slide off the other hip, so the arm's going to come all the way out and over. So my intention is not necessarily to get this to the floor, but to start to feel this openness across the chest. And then we'll close it back over. And we'll just do a couple to start the process going. Not to necessarily say that we have to get this arm to the floor. Breathe out to close. Let's take one more, and it's on this one that if you feel comfortable to hold it out there, let's just hang out there a little bit. Now I've got, and I'm just going to have a little chat to you whilst we're here. So I can see that hand's going in the filming. This is a really beautiful practice to do in, you know, in a dimmed kind of light area. I wouldn't necessarily do that, but just for filming purposes, just so you can see what I'm doing, I've got the lights up pretty high. But a softer light is really lovely. Yin. And again with yin, you don't have to be glaring at the screen watching me. You can certainly have that softness to your eyes. So closing the eyes if it feels comfy. And sometimes it's nice to close the eyes, because what it does is it allows you to go inwards more. It allows you to sort of delve and dive a little bit more in towards what's actually going on inside. Zip my lips for a moment so you can hear what's going on. The yin practice is very much runs on that principle of less is more. You know all too well in our yin practice, we don't force these arms down to the floor, and we don't sort of strain. Yep, I can feel there's a lot of conversation going on over here in this shoulder. But I'm not at that point where I'm thinking, you know what, this is absolutely killing me. Like, it is so strong that it's, you know, it's taking my breath away, and it's uncomfortable. So I really want to feel this, you know, releasing across the pecs. And the other thing about yin practice, sort of I'm thinking quite laterally here, that if you do have children, this can be really nice too, because it's not too hard. It's easy, it's nice and soothing. Good. So when we come back over, take your time, ease the arm, nice and slow. Good. And as it comes back together, just take a moment. You can sort of snuggle in just for a moment. We're just going to close that arm down and allow the body just to relax. And as I mentioned today, listening to Paul Grigley, he said it's so important to reset on the two sides, because it allows us to actually feel the difference between, say, left and right, or what's actually gone on in that 2 to 3 and 4 minutes that we sat there in that stretch. And then when we get to take our time to come to the other side, just ease over. You know what you're doing, so you don't necessarily have to watch me. So you know that we're going to that closed book on the other side, so excuse me to have my back to you, but I know you guys have got this. So we'll go arms on, and we'll do the moving version first of all, so it goes up, out and over. And you might notice that it's comfortable to use the neck, so the head could turn. It may not be, you may not necessarily, and then you'll come back over. And you know what is, and again, we know all too well with yoga, it's not about judging, okay, and going, oh wow, yeah, look how good you are on that side. But it is about observing. So you might notice how different it is on the two sides. You might think, wow, look how much I... And I only say that because I'm talking to myself here. So we're going to hold it out here on this one because I really noticed the difference between this side and my other side. How much further back this arm gets. Not that I, make, as I said, make a call on that. I don't know, but I do make an observation. So it could mean to me that maybe I need to do a bit more work on the other side in terms of releasing things on that side more. So again, if my neck allowed me, I could look over it, but again, we don't have to. And we settle into it and we allow ourselves to just take a moment to focus on the breath. We know where our edge is. We don't go beyond that. We're mindful that there's that sort of boundary, there's that fine line between feeling what's going on here and knowing that there's this, this stretch and release that's happening. There's this opening of this meridian, so we're working on the lung, and you can sense that this chest is becoming open and expansive. So what we do in Yin is we either compress the meridian to stimulate it, or we open it to stimulate it. So this is the opening. Okay, I'm opening up this lung meridian. And I have my palm facing up because that's the Yin meridian. We tapped down through that thumb and up the inside of the arm. And then we want to breathe out. Come on over. Snuggle in for me and just relax. Just allow the body to reset. Then taking our time as we roll over onto our backs. And I'm going to stay with this idea of opening the lung meridian. And you might either choose to use a bolster or a rolled up blanket. So this will go across the back of the rib cage. If you've got something really large, such as a bolster, you might need your head on a block or bolster or pillow, or if you've got something as simple as, say, this as my beach towel, you may not. Okay, so this is still good option, absolutely great option, but you're not going to get the same. You can see the height, okay, much greater height here for me. So what will happen is that we'll ease over this. So you want to use your elbows and you ease over. Now, I may not necessarily need that block. I probably could have, for me, it might be just okay to have this little pillow, might be just enough. It's too strong because I've got my chin too far up towards the roof. So I'm going to help my head up, and that feels so much nicer. So you can see that this is across the back of my ribs, so it's not in my lower back. Okay, my lower back is arched. So that's the reason why I have my feet on the floor and knees bent, as opposed to long legs. If it's okay for you to have long legs, go for it. It's not okay for me. It's not okay for my back. So feel again this. Now we're doing both sides of the lung, so it's a little bit different to that first side. And again, you will notice a difference between this height. But again, if your back doesn't do a lot of extending, it may only just need that little sort of sausage roll of, say, the beach towel. Head rests slightly. Again, remember, we don't want to strain the back of the neck, so I don't want to feel this compression, the back of my neck. And just take your time for me, stay with there. I'm just going to take the music down a little bit because I think it might be a little bit loud. Alright, let's see how that goes. Bent knees, arching over. Now we're expanding that whole rib cage. So again, just notice for me that that's where you want to send this breath. Nice, big, full breath here into this rib cage, into this lung meridian that is now nicely opened. You'll see that we've got these palms faced up to again invite the opening of that channel. And I know so many people love this pose. And I know a lot of you are working still, and you're working from home. And if you're working from home, then I know that you're definitely having to do a lot of work online. And as the day goes on, this chest starts to contract. We round over, we get that rounded shoulder, and it's just so beautiful to be able to feel like you've got some freedom here in this chest. And it's nice and open. Breathing into this expanded rib cage. Breathing out and letting go. Feeling that softness start to come into the body. We might feel it. We might experience it. Like, we might feel that there's no longer this sort of tightness here, but we might experience it by, feeling as though these arms can get closer to the floor, or that there's not so much sort of, distance. So again, just making those beautiful, simple observations. Slowness with the breathing. Just noticing that there's no force or any strain as we come into this sort of slight back bend here. Maybe even starting to notice how much more space there is between each of the ribs. Between each rib there's muscles, these little intercostal muscles, they're opening up. Maybe we can start to explore deepening the breath. The lungs being more, the rib cage being more open, exposing the lungs more. Can you feel that breath really enter the lung cavity, those lungs, and into this rib cage, this rib cavity? Often towards the end of the yin practice, as in the pose, it may start to begin to feel more obvious, maybe a little challenging for some people. And in yin, we like to say that it's about sometimes, and parts of the practice is about feeling an element of uncomfortableness. Okay, but getting quite comfortable with that uncomfortableness. So we should really, it's not like restorative, it's all cruisy and cushy and it's all gooey and it's all sort of beds of roses. Yin is about feeling what's really going on and noticing, wow, that's really expanding that chest. I can really feel stuff going on in there. stay here for a few more breaths, because you know we're here for anywhere up to 5 minutes, because we're doing just a one version on one side of this. Can you start to notice that what happens on that exhalation? Are you really starting to melt more into that softness that's underneath you? Be it your bolster, or be it your blanket, or towel rolled up. But is there more of that sort of, you know, letting go sensation happening? Because that's really one of the intentions of our yin practice, is to try and let go of that build up and hold of what's going on in the body, and just allowing it to be, allowing it to let go. Let's take another 3 breaths here. One last breath before we close this down. Now, as we come out of this one, I definitely suggest bending the arms and bringing them into the body, maybe even onto that prop that you're using. You could either push your elbows into the prop to curl up, or you could roll over to your side. Again, it's all what feels comfortable for you. But we want to come out of the pose still with a bit of gentleness and some ease and some grace, rather than sort of yanking our way up and out. My suggestion for our reset: remove any prop that was underneath the back and find your way just back down into Shavasana, okay, into that, just that lying pose. Feel your back now. So it's gone from this biggie curve to now into a flat back. How does that feel? Okay, how does it feel making contact again with that mat? Come out of this one by walking the legs in. Roll the legs to one side so that we're able to make our way up very slowly. We're going to progress into a wide-legged child's pose. My suggestion is for some, if we can't get, let's say, that forehead comfortably to the floor, we definitely will need something underneath that forehead. Now, be that your towel, be it your bolster. We don't want to put the bolster between our knees, because that's restorative. Okay, we do want to feel that we've got this. You know, we're still working here, so we've got wide legs, forehead to the floor, or to the pillow. And in this instance, starting off with the arms long out in front. You can let the elbows rest on the floor, but feeling your body weight back into those heels here. Now, again, I know there will be people who find literally trying to sit back into their heels that challenge. Pop something behind. Okay, it's nice to have, it can even just be a wafer thin piece of this towel or blankie, and it just takes that enormous edge out of the knees. So wide leg, bottom heading towards heels, softening the heart, sitting back into the heels.
Now, I talked about that large intestinal meridian coming up across the back here. So it came up the front of that arm and across the back of the shoulder blade, and then through the side of the neck and across the nose, like underneath the nose. So feel this, create a width across the back here. Just send your attention towards any little area within the body that's having a conversation with you. What's telling you that it's there? And what do you need to do to, one, acknowledge that, but two, maybe soften that area just so that it's not such a loud conversation. Remember, we're feeling it, but we're not stepping beyond those boundaries. Keeping that idea of less is more. Allowing the chest just to soften down towards the mat. You might start to notice all that beautiful stretching we did for that lung meridian. It's really allowing this width to stay there across the chest. Anywhere now, just starting to get into that sort of conversation of I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I'm staying comfortable in that idea of being uncomfortable. Okay, I can breathe through this and I can soften whatever might be trying to continue to hold on. I'm going to take another 2 rounds of breath here. Walk the hands in slowly. You probably feel a little bit of work going on in those shoulders. We sort of talked about how there's this idea of compressing the meridians as well as opening them, so there's a little bit of that compression going on in there in that shoulders. Take your time to ease on up. If you had any props, we're going to gently pop them off and out towards the side. Let's go trunk down in this one. Here's our reset here. Again, it might be hands underneath the forehead. If you want to have a little stretch of the chest, it might be hands by our sides. It could be head to one side. Bringing the hands back in to the side of the ribs. Gently, gently, gently pressing our way back up. Keeping yourself here on your all fours. We'll find that thread the needle pose. This will open up that intestinal meridian across the back. We're going to take the left hand, I'm going to thread it, or turn it inwards and thread it underneath this right hand. So we're going to go out. We might need something for the head. If remember, we're here for 3 to 5 minutes. Am I prepared to let my head feel like there's, you know, load or force in it against maybe a harder surface? You decide. But it's this, as I turn this palm over, you can, we can see how we're getting into that little area that we battened. Palm down. You can definitely feel how we've addressed that back of the shoulder here. I want you just to settle in here. Closing the eyes. I'm not overly happy with this music. Can I tell you? Turn it right down, please. I don't know how much of it you're actually here to tell you the truth. But okay, so you might find that you're not overly happy with this right hand. Okay, you might be thinking, what, it's pushing up into that shoulder. Do I need it to be that close? You know, no, it can be a little lower. Again, we're not here, we're not in the business of creating strain for anywhere else. So if I'm thinking, okay, the idea of this is to open up across the back of this shoulder blade of my left arm, the one that's threaded through, am I really here to push down firmly through the right arm and feel all this load going on into that? No, I'm not. So we're here to experience the deeper layeral release in the body. Fascia, ligaments, tendons, as opposed to necessarily what's going on in the superficial level, the muscular level. Now, again, as our focus is here with the back of that shoulder, all good and well, but are other parts of our body deciding that they're going to hop in and help out? Okay, so then an example that might be is, are these legs trying to do some work here? Are they really trying to keep my bum up off the floor kind of thing? And if they are, if they're trying to help out, then we're going to soften them. We're going to be mindful that we can relax the legs here. So we're letting the back of the shoulder blade release and open the scapula. Can we allow the breath to filter into the back of that left rib cage so that we can encourage the back to expand? Can we send the breath there? Take 3 more rounds of breath here. Let go of anything else that might be popping in to help it out, to show itself up here. To come out of this, we're just going to press down into the mat with our other hand. Take your time. If it's comfortable to sit back towards the heels, so if it's a cross leg action, that's fine for me too. Here's that observation point. Here's that reset button, the pause button. Can we feel anything that's different between the two sides? Or is there a little bit more, conversation going on in one side than the other, or does it feel one side feel, more open than the other? Just give the body a chance to, like we would in Shavasana, give the body a chance to heal itself. And when we work the body, and it doesn't matter if we're working it from a stretching capacity or from a strength capacity, it needs a chance just to take on board what we just did. Even when we do this, you might even sense the other side saying, my turn now, me too, please. I'd like to feel like that other side. Alrighty, let's make the other side happy. So we've got a thread on the other side here, arm underneath, and off we go. So, we just want to make sure that we even up the two sides. So even in this, if we're finding this is absolutely jamming up the backs of my knees here, pop the towel, put the bolster there if that's what we need. For some, it might be the knees are really starting to become conversational here, saying to you, these are hurting my knees. I'm really supposed to be stretching my shoulder blade. Then we don't sit here in discomfort. Okay, we should feel that it's just say get comfortable in the uncomfortable, but it's not like this is absolutely shattering my knees down here. Like they are, it's bringing tears to my eyes. This is excruciatingly uncomfortable. Okay. Then pat it up.
notice that beautiful silence. And that's where yin can be, sit on the realm almost of being a meditative practice. Because we have to be really quiet in our mind. We don't have much more other than feeling and sensing what's going on in the body. For example, if we were doing a vinyasana, a little flow, like, and I'm saying to you, inhale, into plank, exhale lower, inhale into cobra, exhale into down dog. There's this constant, okay, got to step through on my left leg, got to pull my belly in, got to pull my shoulders down. It's all this constant reminding that's keeping your mind quite active. There's nothing in yin. Okay. So we get to delve into exploring the stillness and the quietness and how that might bring about challenges to our mind. And as I mentioned a little earlier, I said sometimes when we sit in the pose for duration, that's when things start to come up. It's like, wow, it's really getting into the back of that shoulder now, or we really start to feel how, so there's a twist going on here as well. So yes, we've got this shoulder blade thing happening, but there's a rotation in the thoracic. Okay, so we're really doing some beautiful work here to the back as well here. Opening up through that large intestine, so the colon, the digestive tract of the body. Again, it can get quite sluggish if we're not always eating the right foods, or we're eating foods that aren't necessarily conducive to our makeup, our constitution. Sometimes it has to work extra hard. And that can make us feel sluggish. It can slow us down. Let's just take another 2 breaths here again. Soften anything that's holding on. Good. As we come out of this one, and your hand can rest onto the floor. Take time. Very, very slowly. Again, you want to watch that you don't sort of overload anything. Keep the head nice and low. You'll know what's the nicest way to come out of this. You know your body way better than I do. And then take that to any props that you might have out from underneath. Let's go prone. Prone's face down. And if that's like little hands under forehead, that's okay. If it's head to side, that's what works for you. Now if it's a little jiggle of the hips, go there too. Okay. Just check in on your body. What does it need to just sort of soften and reset here? And stillness is perfect. Alrighty, now let's take another chest opener from here, and it's a little bit of a twist that'll go on, and it's what we call the heart opener, or the chest opener. If we let our
left arm come out to the side of us, and we bend the right leg. Using your right hand, we roll over onto this long arm out to the side. Now, a couple of options. We might think, you know what, my head's in space and I'm not that happy with it being out there. I'd rather rest it on a block or my bolster. Remember, comfort. This leg here, I've jumped over the top. But again, you know, it can be down low. The legs could be together. Okay, my knees could be bent if I'm thinking, you know what, this is not about putting pressure here in this lower back. Okay, it's about opening up once again through this pec and opening up the lungs, the respiratory system, helping us to release congestion in the chest, keeping the airways nice and expansive and open. And when the airways are open, when the lungs are nice and open, they're not going to get congested with build up of toxic waste in there. That's the whole idea of breathing out, isn't it? To release toxins. And that toxic load in there builds up phlegm and congestion. And the body ease into it, and just noticing if the chest is trying to resist anything here. Is it trying to sort of pull back on us, or are we allowing ourselves to soften into it? You're not allowing anywhere else to try to tighten up or to hold on. Don't be alarmed if you start to maybe not only just feel that there's some sensations running down this long arm. This is a twofold, so we're working through both the lung meridian and also the intestinal and the large intestine, because we're opening up through this lung 1 and 2, and feel it right across that chest. But because my palm's facing down and I'm exposing the front part of that arm, there we go, bang, straight away into the large intestine, that crooked creek that we have there, the immune building little channel there, that elbow joint. Take another 2 breaths here. As we ease or we move out of it, again with grace and with ease, roll over. Take time to bring that long arm back in. Reset down here. Again, it might be a matter of the feet turning inwards. This just opens up the sacrum, because what we've done here is we've just allowed these legs to roll outwards, and that outwards action will create an opening to the lower back. Let's try it on the other side when you're ready. Long arm
out to our side, bent arm, rolling over to that other side. Again, do I need a block? I would feel more comfortable with one, or block and pillow. Because I don't want to feel any strain in my neck. I just want to know that all the work and the effort is going over here into that chest. So this is, yeah, a bit of a double whammy, a double bunger. This one, we've got the chest, we've got running up that arm, and maybe you can feel something through the neck as well, because it's that meridian comes, as I said, across the back of the shoulder blade and then runs up the neck and across the facial line there. Again, we don't want to feel that there's load into the lower back. So if it's pinching, okay, that's not part of the equation. Okay, the emphasis is the opening of the front body. So again, pinpoint. Turn inwards, listen. What shouldn't be working? What should be switching off? What should be having a bit of a holiday for you? Allowing the breath to still be long and extensive. Check in on the mind. What's going on in there? Is it having a little wander, or have we been able to sort of tame it a little and keep a sense of stillness to our thoughts? Noticing the edge for this pose. Do we need to, are we getting a little lax? So remember, we are supposed to feel, but we're not supposed to, it's not supposed to be sitting on that, fine line of excruciating. Have I just gone a little bit too soft on it? Do I, could I roll onto it, and open up the chest even more? I'm not suggesting that you go beyond where your body's telling you to, but again, there's always that sort of point where it's settled, it's eased off. I can explore this perhaps more. Don't need to sit where I just was, because the body very quickly just responded and let go for me. Take another 2 breaths here. That last final opportunity to feel the chest release and let go. We need to come back over by bringing the knees back towards that front edge of our mat. Now the tricky part is that long arm because it's been out there for so long, so please be mindful of when we bring it back in. And we're going to pull down into Shavasana from here. Grab those bolsters if you want something soft underneath the back of the head. Make that transition soft and smooth. This is that last little bit of nourishment. If you've got your eye pillow, feel free to collect that. Head on down. Just check that music's not too loud for us at this last phase. And here we go. 5 minutes or anywhere between 3 and 5, probably about 3 minutes of juiciness. Eye pillow on. And this is where all of that work really comes to fruition. Really noticing the body softening, melting into the mat. Really letting go here. Last any final tension the body might be holding on to, we just let go now. Softening into the mat. Feeling all those beautiful parts of the body that we're able to open up. The back of the shoulders, the front of the chest, the arms. Noticing the difference between the body before when we started versus how it feels now. The relief of the muscles. Noticing for me here, almost like a sense of heaviness, and not in a bad way, in a beautiful way, as though the body's limp. And
There's absolute effortlessness in the body. There's no force, no strain, there's no holding on. It's just like that sort of soft limpness. Do is we'll take another 3 breaths here. Just that really nice full inhalation, breathing in the energy, chi energy, life force. Here's your chance to let go. Whatever happened during the day, it's gone. It was previous. We mentioned in our meditation today, we are only in control of what is happening right here, right now. So breathing in all that beautiful goodness and letting go of anything unnecessary. Thoughts, emotions, sensations, feelings, agendas. One last one, breath comes in. Here we go, let it go. That feeling of relief, that sigh of relief. When you're ready, bring ourselves over to a side, your choice. It's where you want to be. Take time to come up to sit. Just use those hands. Keep the gaze low. Eyes are soft. Yin you can do any time of the day. It is beautiful at night. It's really going to set you up for great sleep. But you know, if you're thinking, you know what, I don't want to do a strong practice today. I just want to nourish myself. That's what I'm feeling today. Yin is the most nourishing, giving back to the body kind of practice that you could ever do. That and restorative. Let's come and meet here, hands at the heart center. It's here that we close and we seal that practice. So together, let's finish with Namaste. Namaste. A beautiful evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me, those who are on board tonight and those who jump on at any other time. I know this practice will serve you well and that it's very, as I said, therapeutic. It's quite nourishing to the body. Do it at any time. Do it at any stage of your life. See you next time in Facebook land, and tomorrow, if you're joining me, being Wednesday today, Thursday morning, we're off. We don't have any practice. So can I suggest, if you want to do a practice, go into the page, and right underneath the picture, there's another little bar of information. It will have all different kinds of yoga classes. So you can click on the class that you might like to do, or you could go into a section that might even say videos. And you can just, it'll throw them all up and you can choose something. So if you really want to do another practice tomorrow, awesome. Just go and scroll through and see what takes your fancy and choose another class. And then back on Friday. So back on Friday morning for meditation, 7 a.m. So that will be your first practice. And then there'll be a class at 9:30 if you're on live jumper. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Hope to see you very soon back on Facebook land. Enjoy your evening, and thanks for coming on board.